this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. And today, as most Wednesdays, our guest is Krys Copeland. Hi, Krys.
Hi, Reverend Don. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. And today we'll be talking about developments at Corellian Publishing. And we hope everyone is having a good week. If you normally follow Midday with Reverend Don, you know you can type your questions or comments onto whatever platform you're watching on, and they will show up here in our chat room. We don't have the chat room on screen today because we have a guest, but we can see it, unlike yesterday when I could not. Um, Yesterday, I did the broadcast from my phone, which I've not done previously. So it was a little bit of a new experience, and um, I'm sure there's a way to show the chat room in that format, but I could not read it from the distance I was from the camera. So, but today we can see it. So, hello everyone. I hope you're doing great. What have we got today, Krys?
Well, we've got a lot of exciting things in development today. I think a lot of people already know that we've just published Autumn Stoneflower's book a few weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't checked that out, this is a great one for middle-aged students, middle grade students. So roughly ages 8 to 14, 8 to 15, and a wonderful realistic fiction book about girls that are attending a Wiccan Academy in upstate New York, and how they deal with the conflicts that they have with the local townspeople, and also with other students in the school, and students who are not in that school but rather attend the public school in town, and the
Mm-hmm.
conflict that that creates.
We want to say hello to Janet Winston in the chat room and to Mary Hawk. Hello.
Hi, Janet. Hi, Mary. Good to see you. Yeah, so if you have any kids in your life around that age and you'd like to get them a good Yule present, a little stocking stuffer or something like that, this is definitely a good one to go for. It teaches a lot of great pagan values in it, including acceptance and being welcoming to other people, as well as standing up for yourself and standing up for others who maybe don't have a voice in
Yes.
things. So, of course, very, very good pagan values, especially, I don't want to say especially Corellian values, but because I think I have a bias with Corellianism, but at least in my opinion, I think it goes along quite well with Corellian values.
Yes, indeed.
And yeah, so that one's Autumn Stoneflower's book. Check it out. You can also take the quiz and find out which character you're most like. I believe I got Kayla, the kind of creative, artistic one, so that was very nice for me.
Yes.
Um, and in addition to that, we also have your book that we're working on right now, your latest from the Reverend Don's Book of Collection,
Yeah.
the Book of Stones, Metals, and Crystals. And today we were going through the chapter on talismans and amulets, which can be quite confusing, I think, for a lot of people because the different definitions of the term and how they're
Mm.
used in our language. So can you kind of dive into that a bit and tell us a little bit about the differences and similarities between talismans and amulets?
Talisman and amulet are words that are often confused with each other, and people tend to use them as if they're the same thing. The primary difference between them is that amulet comes from Latin and talisman comes from Greek. And this is often when you encounter words that are used that way that are hard to tell apart. That's often what the actual difference is. It's like the term morals versus the term ethics. Morals is Latin, ethics is Greek. In the end, that is the real difference between them. And then there are, of course, different ways people use them. But in terms of where they come from and what they mean, it's simply that they come from two different languages. And the same is true for talisman and amulet. The words come from different languages and they tend to be used in a multiplicity of ways, which makes defining them rather difficult. I usually define a talisman as something that exists in its natural state. and is used for magical purposes in that natural state, versus an amulet, which is something which is made for a magical purpose. And when I write about amulets and talismans, that's the sense in which I write about them. Now, there are people who define them exactly the opposite way, and that's on them. And there are also people who will tell you that an amulet is for protection and a talisman is to draw things to you. But again, these are not universal definitions. People have many definitions, so I stick with the one that I am accustomed to. And so, if we were talking about, let's say, a talisman, we might be talking about the kind of tumbled stones or found stones that people might carry in their pocket to pull certain things to them or place on their altar. Um, and even more something like the so-called hagstone, which is a stone with a natural hole in the center, um, or stones that have a shape that is reminiscent of something. Lady Crystal used to have a stone, which I believe was technically a hagstone, but it also looked like a face, and she considered that a very very magically powerful stone. And these are examples of what would be natural amulets within the realm of stones and crystals. The stone you find on the road and take home is a talisman as opposed to an amulet. But when you set it in a ring, then it's an amulet. Um, if you if you make one of these guys for magical purposes, it would be an amulet. It has the lapis and the turquoise in it. If you're carrying around a lapis, that is a talisman, but you place it in a ring, the ring becomes an amulet. And I pulled out a couple of amulets today to give examples, and I'm wearing one as a tie tack, and this is the Eye of Ra from ancient Egyptian mythology, which is about protection and and action and passion, but particularly protection in Egyptian mythology. I also have a medallion with that same symbol on it. This was a gift from Cosmo Rubiconis, who is a wonderful person. This was a gift from my father. And you would wear that particular amulet mostly for protection. There are other things you can wear it for also, including having we might say, a bird's eye view of things going on, having forewarning or having a more truthful vision of what you're looking at. I also have this amulet, which was a gift from my father, and I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but it is a Mercury's head dime, which has been made into a piece of jewelry. And I was going to wear it, but it blends out against the tie too much. Nobody would have been able to really see it. And this was a gift from my father, and you would wear something like this for eloquence, communication, creativity in things like storytelling and speech, and also for business, which are all things that Mercury rules. And I think people, and unless you're into coins, I think many people today don't realize that Mercury was a common feature on our coins for a very long time in this country, before being replaced by mere mortals. But a Mercury's head dime like this can be a very useful amulet, and many people have used them that way, even when they were still in circulation. And we want to say hello to Nikki Dodd in the chat room.
Hi,
And
Nikki.
those
Good to
are,
see you.
yeah, those are a couple of examples of amulets. I suppose we could consider any stone ring that is charged for a magical purpose to be an amulet. If it's not charged, it's not really an amulet. But if it's being used for a magical purpose, this one, for example, is goldstone, which is very good for money. And my mother once gave me the advice that if you're trying to if you're looking for money magic tips, listen to people who've got money, not people who don't. And she always had money, and she loved goldstone and had numerous pieces of goldstone. And goldstone is an interesting stone because it is not a natural stone. Although it's made of natural components, it was created in the Renaissance. And it was created in Venice, which was the center of glass work in Europe. And it's ultimately a kind of art glass that is made from basically from pulverized stone in a glass setting. And I'm under the impression that it was originally made with actual gold, and perhaps sometimes still is. It's also sometimes made with copper. But it's a beautiful stone. And it's an example of how a synthetic stone can still be very magically useful. And so I highly recommend them. And those are a couple of examples. Oh, and the ring that I'm wearing is another example of an amuletic ring. And you can see it's a dragon. And dragon symbolism has always been very important to me. And the idea of the dragon as the flow of the universe, the Tao, for want of a better way to put it, personified as the dragon or the Ouroboros. And so you'll often see me wearing this ring, usually not alone, but I frequently wear it. We want to say hello to Steve Taylor in the chat room. It's good to see you.
Hi, Steve. Good to see you. Yeah, I
And
like your
yeah.
definitions that you have of talismans and amulets, and how talismans are more natural and amulets are more refined, because that fits in with the way that I would teach the connotation of those
Mm.
words, not their literal meanings or their literal definitions, but the feeling behind them or how we use
Mm.
them. A classic example would be like in fantasy novels or in D
Yeah.
and D. It's the shaman character or the druid
Mm.
character or the barbarian character might use a talisman.
Yeah.
Wizard or the sorcerer or the magician, the sage is more likely to use the ring or the amulet.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so it really speaks to my mind as like a fantasy novel enjoyer,
Good.
peruser. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I'm a great believer in living your life as if it were a fantasy novel
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
going out and having those adventures.
And speaking of
And
fantasy novels, we actually
yes.
do have a one coming out from
Mm.
Laura Enright, who is a well-known
Yes.
pagan author. And yeah, it's been an absolute blast editing this book. We're about three-quarters of the way through the edit, so we are looking at launching that by the end of September, maybe early October. And
Mm.
yeah, we're going to have a new cover design that Laura is working on. But the story itself is just such a magical story and so beautifully written. I actually want to just read one paragraph from the chapter one of this book, just so you can see kind of what her style, her flow is
Mm-hmm.
like, and just kind of how vividly she paints this world using words. So this is the opening to the book, the chapter one. The golden egg bobbed joyfully in the gentle ocean swells. The soft glow of early morning dancing off its shell made the egg sparkle like a precious jewel, presented to the world by a benevolent sea god. The eruption of an underwater volcano had shaken the seabed, jarring the egg loose from its nest deep in the sandy floor, where it had remained hidden for many generations.
Very cool.
Yeah. She's had a very pleasant style. I've really enjoyed reading it. I've become a bit of a fangirl myself of her work now, so I will be purchasing her previous novels as well.
Yes,
So
indeed.
if you'd like to find that, I believe they're available on her blog, which you can search
Mm-hmm.
for. Laura Enright is her name. And her book, of course, her new book is available for pre-order on our website. I will type her name in the chat so that people can search her out and support her blog and her other works as well.
Very good. And we want to say hello to Ed Carr in the chat room. It's good to see you, Ed.
Good to see you, Ed. And I believe it was Ed that had contacted me the other day. His book it came in, so good to hear
Wonderful.
that, Ed. And yeah, we're very excited to see that our orders are coming in now, and we're able to send those out from the printer.
Yes,
So
indeed.
that's been very fun. Now, going back to your book, I also wanted to touch a little bit today on the different uses that you can have
Mm.
for talismans and amulets. So, what kinds of events would you wear them to? How would you use them during the event? What kind of benefits do they have? How could people use these?
Well, of course, it's going to be different depending on what it's been charged for, what it's made for, or in the case of a talisman, what its inherent energies are. But an example, I mentioned the Eye of Ra for protection. If you felt that you were in need of protection, you might choose to wear something like that, and it should bring protective energy around you, particularly if you also focus on it and work with it. But even just for its own sake. Um, the dragon, working in concert with the flow of the universe, and also drawing its power behind you. We mentioned the Mercury head. If you feel like you need more um, eloquence, more persuasive abilities, something aligning with the powers of Mercury would be a good choice.
The Riz, as the Gen Zers call it.
Okay, yes. Um, yeah, that's the sort of thing. And, it can be all kinds of different things. Obviously, a talisman is something that you find. But in terms of an amulet, I have here um, a series of earrings that I purchased some years ago for use as tie tacks, and I wear them every now and then. But they would have the qualities associated with their colors. Um, and you could use something like that as an amulet if you charged it accordingly. And if you were going to wear, for example, the orange one, that would be good for creativity, good for passion and that sort of self-expression. The yellow one would be good for working with relationships and working on your place in the world. Um, the um, the blue one might be good for communication. There are numerous ways that you can make an amulet. But once you've made it, you'd wear it to call those qualities that you have made it for around you. And you can do that simply by wearing it, and it should actively attract those things. Or you can work with it in a very conscious manner to put more energy behind it, depending on your situation and how much you feel that you're in need of it. Um, Generally speaking, I would say if you're going to wear something that is amuletic in character, you should certainly be mindful of the fact you're doing it. But you don't necessarily need to do anything more than wearing it or carrying it, because it should naturally be already charged to do what it's supposed to do. But then again, you can also work with it to strengthen that even farther. With a talisman, it's the same, except that it comes in its natural state, and you would carry it, or um, in some cases you could wear it, and it would. Oh, it just occurs to me that here in my little box of things, I might have a very nice little example. Not as quickly as I thought, but I'll hold this up. This is an amber necklace, and the qualities of amber could be considered either talismanic or amuletic, depending on how you're using it. So if you were going to wear this necklace, you could be wearing it in the hope of drawing those qualities around you. And the particular thing I was hoping for is not handy. But but here is something that could be considered an amulet, and it is a corellium medallion. And
Very
this
cool.
obviously is a piece of art. It was not found in this state, but there is no reason that we're talking about stones and crystals and the like, but there's no reason that an amulet must be a natural object. They're often not. This could be considered a sigil amulet for tying into the Corellian energy.
And Bonnie says they're never around when we look. I think it's the fairies are playing tricks here.
Yes. We want to
So
say hello to Bonnie.
yes, hello Bonnie. I like your name because it's my grandmother's name. It's a beautiful name.
Ah,
Yes. And I have a couple of amulets, talismans. Well, we can have a discussion on what in
mhm,
particular you would call them because one in particular, one of my clients gave me this. She is
mm,
in the therapy world, and she gave me this heart as a thing that I could put kind of my worries into, so
yeah.
that it can weigh down this heart instead of my own heart. So I keep that around a lot or carry it in my purse as well. And then every time I go to a new beach somewhere in the world, I also pick up different uh, shells,
Mm,
seashells, just little stones that I find. Um, and this one is like a piece of a sea creature, it's a piece of bone from a sea creature
mhm,
that I found. But I leave them. I've been thinking about why I have them specifically in my office all the time. Why I don't carry them with me to different events more, and I think it's because when I have them in my office, it usually means I'm not traveling if I see them. I'm working in my office.
mhm.
But it does give me that kind of inspiration that, hey, this is why you live the life that you live, so that you can go out and collect these things around the world, because it just makes you so ridiculously happy.
Yes,
So
indeed.
yeah, I like the fact that these little things that we cling to as pagans, as earth-based faith havers, that
Mhm.
we just have so much joy from them, and I
Yes.
like to see that.
We want to say hello to Sebastian Bulos, who is joining us from Peru.
Hello,
Hello,
Sebastian.
Sebastian. And we need to take just a moment to hear from our sponsor. And I here we go. And we want to thank Equinox Learning Hub. And then we're going to hear from our other sponsor. And it's nice to have sponsors.
Yeah.
Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Reverend Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours.
And we thank our second sponsor, which is me. And my next metaphysical and magic auction will be Friday night at 7 p.m. Central. Friday the 13th, lucky day for an auction. And there just might be something amuletic or talismanic among the various offerings.
That's great to hear. Looking forward
Yeah.
to it. Yes. So yeah, that's what we've been working on today. We're also still continuing the work on Witch Wars Defense
Mm.
Manual Volume 2. If you have not picked up Volume 1, you can get it for free at CorellianPublishing.com. Just go to our website, click on books, and it'll be right there towards the top of the page or in the top row.
Yeah.
The link is right there at the top of the web page itself, the product page. So yeah, thanks to Ed Hubbard for releasing that book for free and for agreeing to work with us on this second volume, Witch Wars Defense Manual Volume 2, How to Win.
And also, on Friday the 13th, he will be doing an interview on the subject of this book on Witchcraft TV. And I'm not certain what the time is going to be. I'm looking at it. But watch for the interview with Harold Sanford Carter and learn more about the book. And we want to say hello to Daniel Michael in the chat room. It's good to see you, Dan.
Hi, Daniel. Good to see you. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun here at Corellian Publishing. We would like to encourage people, if you have your own books that you'd like to submit, please send them you can send your manuscripts to corellian.publishing@gmail.com. We'll be happy to, sort through it, work with you on getting it ready for publishing, and then if you choose to publish with us, we would love to have that as well. So yeah, just get in touch with us. We are working on a few books with other members of Corellian leadership as well. Reverend Alyssa is working on a child's book right now. This one also related to crystals, so it'll be a very nice, mostly not quite a picture book. There are words with it, but it's for about 6 to 8 years old, something like that. And I believe it's going to be featuring your artwork, Reverend Don.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to see how that comes out. And we also have a book on Corellian heraldry that's in the works, and a few books as well from Reverend Phoenix. We are looking at creating around voodoo, around African traditions, and we're very excited to have that information brought forward within Corellian Publishing for our audience.
Yes, indeed. Lots of things going on, lots of things coming, and yeah, you'll hear about them here.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in seeing all of the things we already offer, you can find them at CorellianPublishing.com.
And if you haven't subscribed to the weekly spell yet, you can do that as well. It's also a free newsletter that we offer with weekly lessons in tarot. We give, of course, a weekly spell as well. But we also have lessons in tarot, numerology, and astrology, as well as pagan crafts. And I believe this week's edition was on children's crafts for Maybone. So check that out. And there's also special discount codes that are only available to our weekly spell subscribers, so check that out. And follow us on social media. We're really trying to grow our TikTok following right now, so if you're on TikTok, you can find us at Corellian Publishing, or Corellian.publishing, I believe it is. But yeah, just search for Corellian Publishing and we will come up.
Yes. And with that, I see we've come down to the end of our half hour. Thank you, Krys, for joining us. And Krys will be back again next Wednesday with more interesting things. And I hope everyone has enjoyed the show. And we will close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all the interesting things you put in our path. We thank you for all the pretty rocks that we come across that become the talismans of our lives. We thank you for the many wonderful events that we string together in the necklace of our existence. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, with great love, we thank you, knowing you are always with us, full of respect. Thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. We thank you for your presence, may you be blessed now and always.